It's all about high-level music for the Y2K vibe. Shouts out to the UK talent. Just keep pressing on and moving forward. Cause UK talent is nearly at its peak, yeah? Don't give up now, it's not long. It's just a matter of time.
Whoops. Wrong hotkey. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the impromptu Satoko Saturday, I guess, because I couldn't stream yesterday, unfortunately. Yeah, couple things. First of all, we have some new layout art by Golden Slaterer on Twitter. Absolutely fantastic. The Rena outfit, I love it so much. Thank you for that. I saw that it was ERA's birthday in the chat, so happy birthday, ERA. And we've got a couple of donation messages to get to real quick. So Spectro sent $5, tuning in at the start of a long drive, so nervous to see what happens next. Oh, there's going to be plenty happening today. And Jam Jam with a Canadian $2, children jump scare. There's only... Never mind, I'm not going to quote the Vine. But you know. So yeah. Lot going on this week, but at least we can all have a good time reading a fun visual novel together, right? Right? Yeah. So let's get right to it. our Hibaki game with the $2. Praise Satoko Saturday. No Satoko slander allowed. That's true. Actually, that does remind me. I do also think Atropos was the one who suggested that I should appoint a couple more mods that are a little bit more familiar with full Higurashi spoilers, so we can keep a rein on some of that a little bit more this time. So I am gonna go ahead and, first of all, it's been a long time coming anyway. You are the epitaph solver, Atropos. There you go. Wield your power responsibly. As well, I think I'm also going to add our Hibaki as well. And we will see if we need to do any more in the near future. But for now, let's go ahead and get to it. The silly music right off the gate. Written Remedy with the $5. I'm so excited. I started reading Umineko and discovered this channel midway through the reading, but could never catch up. Here for Higu. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Sleepy. Me too, Keiichi.
Whoa, that was a really big yawn, Keiichi-kun.
I'm usually awake once it's time to eat. It doesn't look like I can do it today. I was watching TV until late last night. I'm so tired right now. Heartwolf with the $10. I'll be in and out because I'm with my partner today, as fate would have it. But have a wonderful stream all, and stay strong, my friends, and my partner Mars sends love as well. Hey, thank you so much. I hope you have a great time together, and I hope you enjoy the stream whenever you watch it, either now or later. Was one of those raunchy TV shows you loved so much on last night?
How extremely vile!
Don't jump to conclusions.
It's perfectly normal for boys. Nothing to be ashamed about.
Rika not patting my head only made me feel worse. Why is it cutting off your name? Harmonia, who ready to higu their Rashi. Could you just let me pass out this lunch break? No, seriously.
My, you think I would just sit here and allow that?
I'll get really angry if you disturb me. Really angry. This was just dreadful. Just so sleepy. I slumped my head onto the desk and drifted off into an afternoon nap. It seemed that Satoko had responded, but I pretended not to hear.
Cut it out, Satoko-chan. Keiichi-kun fell asleep. His sleeping face, so cute.
You can take him home later. Let him be for now.
Let's move over there. It'd be rude to Keiichi if we bothered him now.
Minmod, you're thinking about, Katawa Shoujo, I believe. Rika-chan really is a good girl.
Let's not wake him up even if the teacher comes back.
I take that back. The excuse that I didn't sleep much last night because I was watching TV was a lie. I was in bed at the usual time, but because of the conversation with Oishi-san that afternoon, I didn't get much sleep. Real Carrier, with the Canadian $5, sent one earlier, but it slipped under. Just wondering where to get this specific version of Higurashi. Oh, sorry about that. This is just the Steam version of the game, but with a mod applied to it by 07th Mod. If you look up 07th Mod, you'll be able to find it. Just spending the day like this, it's almost as if the incident with Tomitake-san didn't happen at all. It made me think, was Oishi-san just trying to deceive me? But it was probably the truth. One thing was certain. I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He wanted my assistance, but I really didn't know anything about it. If I knew I wasn't going to be of any help, I probably wouldn't have listened in the first place. It ended up with me, again, regretting learning something I didn't need to know. If I had never learned about it, I would without a doubt be goofing off with the rest of them right now. I couldn't help but resent Oishi-san for this.
Huh? When was that?
I heard he wasn't there the next day. It appears he vanished the night of the Watanagashi. Mion whispered to keep others from listening, but I could hear it clearly. On the other hand, Rena's voice was even harder to pick up, but I could still tell that she was quite upset. It couldn't be. Are they talking about Tomitake-san?
Tomitake.
Not sure. That's all I know. I would have to feign ignorance about this topic because I needed to keep it a secret. Rather than waking up and being forced to lie to join the conversation, it was much easier to just sit here and pretend I was asleep to listen in on their discussion. Wait, why did I have to pretend to be asleep while eavesdropping on my friend's conversation? The guilt stung.
So, me. There are others, right? Two.
But they don't know if it's from the curse or if this was an Onikakushi. Onikakushi? Onikakushi? To be hidden away by a demon? What a mysterious phrase. I did, however, get the feeling it meant nothing good.
Yeah. Hell. There was another, right? Right?
If it's Oyashiro-Sama'S curse, yeah.
But, this here... All?
Grandma and the mayor talked about it. Seems they talked to the police about it beforehand. They said they'd take care of whatever happens this year without causing a commotion.
Then, without us knowing it, so when it... Them, you mean? Maybe. Next... Me. I wonder.
Don't worry. You got home safely.
But... It's not allowed, right?
That was a long time ago. Let's stop talking about this. Amidst the uncomfortable mood, both of them went silent. The entirety of the conversation was still a bit unclear, but a few parts caught my attention. First of all, the term onikakushi. To be demoned away, by the context it was used in, I would guess it's similar to being spirited away. I suspected that was what it meant. That was what it meant because Tomitake-san and that woman, it really bugged me that I didn't know her name, vanished after the Watanagashi. The next thing that stuck out was when Rena said, "There's another one, right?" Mion also said, "If it's Oyashiro-Sama'S, yeah," responding to something. If it's Oyashiro-Sama'S curse, then there had to be two victims. Is that what she meant? Come to think of it, I remember Mion saying at the beginning that they didn't know if it was from the curse or if it was a case of Onikakushi. It seems the curse and being demoned away are different things, and they were phenomena that were paired together. I recalled Tomitake-san's terrible end. That wasn't something as elegant as disappearing. That horrendous end would best be described as a curse. Then, the woman with him, it means she vanished because she was demoned away? What I do know is that there's normally an even number of victims of the curse proper, and the last point that bothered me was Rena. Rena was frightened. For what reason, I didn't know. However, she knew that something had made her a potential target for Oyashiro-Sama's curse. If I recall correctly, Oyashiro-Sama should be the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. Isn't a guardian deity supposed to defend the citizens and drive out invaders? If I recall correctly, yesterday Oishi-san said that originally the targets were enemies of the village, but recently there was no longer any distinction between them or regular outsiders. But if that was the case, then I would think that I'd be the more likely target, having moved here more recently than Rena. From her composure, I could infer that she was grimly certain that she would be next. I should probably relay what I just heard now to Oishi-san. Informing the police of what I heard by eavesdropping on my friends while pretending to be asleep, it made me feel terrible. It raised a few questions and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Would it be better not to seek the answer to those questions? As I continued to learn more and more, I felt like I had fallen past the point of no return. I would definitely regret this one day. I would definitely regret ever having learned of these events.
The teacher approaches. Keiichi-san, you must awaken.
In the distance, I could hear the ring of the handbell signaling the start of afternoon classes. Gah! I couldn't sleep at all! I hastily opened my eyes and raised my head up. It was in that moment when I leaned against the back of my seat. There was a thumbtack stuck on the back of my chair with tape. Circumstantial evidence was enough. Satoko! Guilty without trial. Capital punishment! I furiously jumped up from my seat, and I tripped as if my feet were tangled up. My shoelaces had been tied together. Not bad, Satoko! While I was sleeping, you were able to conceal your presence to pull off this fine piece of work! The teacher came in right as I was about to pull off my shoes and tackle Satoko.
Did you not notice that our teacher has arrived, Keiichi-san? Take your seat.
Clomp, clomp, whoosh, poof. Not caring one bit, I made her eat a flick to the forehead.
Keiichi-san is being mean! Hey! Don't pick on the younger kids, Maibara-kun. Apologize to her.
I saw Satoko stick her tongue out at me. That little brat!
Come on, Maibara-kun.
Yeah, I'll apologize. Sorry, Satoko-san. In any case, I apologized, even if it was in a completely insincere tone of voice. Damn her. I'll remember this. Kei-chan, get your revenge at the club meeting. Take your seat. I sat down after Mion told me to. She had switched to class representative mode. With the boring classes finished, school was finally over for the day. Now then, what should we do for club today? Personally, I would like to play that deduction game one more time. I was hardly able to play it last time because of Oishi-san. Rena and I weren't even able to test out our strategy.
That's right. Today, Keiichi-kun and I will be victorious. What should we do? We've never played the same game 2 days in a row before. Why not try asking me?
Mion looked over her shoulder as we made eye contact. She slowly tapped her palm with her fist as her face suddenly lit up.
Oops! I completely forgot. I need to go help my uncle today. Sorry guys, not today.
Helping your uncle? Aren't you a little goody two-shoes?
Sorry, really. I really did forget. Well then, sorry guys. This old man's heading back home now.
Mion left us with that and rushed off to the exit after snatching up her bag.
You see, Mi-chan, she sometimes goes to help at her uncle's shop in town.
I thought she wasn't the type to get caught up in such bothersome stuff.
She said that she gets paid for it. It's quite a bit of spending money from what I hear.
I see. She was able to pay for that mountain of games with what she saved up from there. But that... wouldn't you call that a part-time job? Isn't that against school policy?
There's a clause that states family businesses are excluded.
Is that what she's calling it? So what now? Pass on the club today?
So, we're done today, I guess?
Wouldn't it be fine even without the club president? Let's do this! I opened the club locker and began searching for the deduction game from that ever-growing pile of games. Ah, here it is! The deduction game from yesterday! Man, I just had to stop as I was getting the hang of it. At the very least, I wanted to repay Satoko for what she did during the afternoon break.
I do not mind, but is that fine for Rena-san and Rika? If Keiichi-kun wants to so badly, I wouldn't mind playing for a bit. I think it's better if we do it when we have everyone together.
When she says it like that,
I wanted to go shopping if there wasn't a club meeting today. Going to buy soy sauce and other things. Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. Well, I guess since it's been a while, I should go treasure hunting.
What's this now? Everyone was no longer in the mood for club activities. If I kept on trying to push the matter, it may make them realize I had a trick up my sleeve. Oh well, I'll give it up this time. Man, I was really looking forward to playing it. I shuffled through the cards as if I was still caught up on it.
At the next opportunity, I shall give you a sound thrashing.
The murderer is Satoko! The murder weapon is the pistol! It was you after all!
What did you say? Then I'll just...
Satoko looked through the cards on the desk and stuck out 3 of them at me.
The murderer is Keiichi, in the lounge with the rope.
I don't need no rope. I'll just strangle you like this.
No! Keiichi
Well, guess it's good that I got that out of my system.
I'll remember this, Keiichi-san. She was used as a plaything for quite a while. You poor thing. Cute, cute.
Everyone got ready to go back home. I also helped gather up the scattered cards. I suddenly paused. They were just the suspect cards, but I noticed something strange. Rena, Satoko, Rika, Keiichi, Mion, Satoshi. Satoshi. Not all the cards were made by us, or at least every card besides this one had the name of a club member. Does this mean that this Satoshi fellow is a member? Was there someone in this class named Satoshi? I couldn't find anyone named Satoshi on the class roster stuck up on the wall.
Keiichi-kun, let's hurry and finish cleaning up.
Being rushed by Rena, I finished up quickly. Satoko and Rika-chan had already headed merrily for their lockers, so we were the only ones left in the classroom. Right now, Rena had already gotten her bag and was ready to leave. Rena, there must be quite a few people who transfer from this school, right? I tried asking Rena in a bit of a roundabout way. Rena made a troubled face and then answered.
Yeah. Hinamizawa is a rural town, right? Some people transfer out every now and then.
Then, is Satoshi another one of those transferees?
Sorry. I don't really know.
There was a bit of a pause, but the answer was pretty much immediate.
I'm not saying it to be mean. Just last year, I transferred in, so maybe I just missed him. So I didn't hear much about him. Sorry.
I'm not sure. Sorry. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial, and felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends, do they? Though I do appreciate that they kept that unsettling curse thing from me. But if everyone's worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's what it means to be friends, right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with these mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance.
Keiichi-kun, you're making a scary face. Why is it? Why?
It was probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened her. Sorry. I was really looking forward to the club today. I'm just feeling down about it. I rustled Rena's hair. Let's go home. Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My long, outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry.
Keiichi-kun, are you tired, maybe? Maybe?
Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made the situation even more unsettling. You think so?
Yeah. You seem to have been a little out of it ever since this morning. Maybe a cold?
Physically, I was pretty sure I was in perfect health. It may not seem like it, but I've had perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer.
It could be that the fatigue from moving's finally caught up to you. It's completely different from where you used to live, after all. Of course you've gotten tired, since there's so much you need to get used to and remember.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it has to be. Rena was also like that at first, too. I can tell, you know?
I wondered if Rena also experienced the slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. Thinking so, I felt that she was the only one who could understand how I felt. I'd like to hear about when you first came to Hinamizawa. How was it? Feeling I had been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened.
It was the same as Keiichi-kun. I didn't know the villagers' names at all. Michan and the rest were all very kind, so I wasn't lonely, but I did still feel a little out of place.
Rena told me all of the details of when she had moved here. All of her first acquaintances and surprises, worries and good times. So, Satoko got to you too?
Yeah. There was a thumbtack put on my chair. Poke. Then with that, yeah. That really takes me back.
When were you invited into the club? The first day?
Nah, there wasn't a club at the beginning. It was formed partway through. One day, she said we should stay after and hold the big game tournament.
Come to think of it, Mion did say that she was the first club president. Now I get it.
This is a secret, but Mi-chan used to be really bad at the beginning. She'd never win.
Huh? Mion? Really? I can't even imagine that.
She had to do most of the penalties that she came up with. Seriously, don't tell.
I can't believe Mion was like that. So she gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion's at her best when she's fighting dirty.
I began making more friends besides Mi-chan after that, but yeah. It might have only been since you moved here that I finally felt like I'd gotten used to it here.
I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she had just moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them. I wonder when I'll finally be considered one of them.
Did you say something?
No, sorry. Just talking to myself.
Keiichi-kun, you're so silly.
Rena was poking fun and laughing at me, and I couldn't help but laugh as well. But I suddenly stopped. Then, after making up my mind, I spoke. Hey, Rena, is there something that everybody is keeping from me?
Huh? No, not at all.
You're lying, aren't you? Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense.
What do you mean by that, Keiichi-kun?
Her tone was still the same cheery and light-hearted one as before. You are, aren't you? Keeping something from me. After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash, but she came back at me in a way I didn't expect.
Well then, Keiichi-kun, aren't you keeping something from us?
Huh? Her tone didn't change, but it was the first time I'd seen this expression from Rena. With how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe that this was the same Rena.
Aren't you? Lies or secrets? Aren't you?
You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked as if she did. The incident with Tomitake-san, and how I felt alienated from the group, even without having to think about it. There were things I knew that I felt guilty about, but I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomitake-san. To be considerate. I was keeping it a secret just the same way they didn't tell me about Oyashiro-sama. Then, aren't we even? No, I'm not. No lies. No secrets.
Liar.
Her answer was instant, and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me, watching me, like a hawk. Why would you say that I'm lying?
Didn't you say that you were called into the teacher's room yesterday during the club meeting, Keiichi-kun? I know. You didn't go to the teacher's room.
I swallowed hard. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what happened.
The teacher said you had a guest, didn't she? But you didn't talk at the entrance. You talked inside of the car near the school gate, with some man we don't know.
Rena knew everything. She knew that I was called out by Oishi-san and that I heard about the incident with Tomitake-san as well. Did she know all of it?
Exactly who was that man?
I don't know him.
Why did someone you don't know have business with you?
I want to know that myself.
Then what did you talk about?
It has nothing to do with you guys. It was a lie.
Lies!
Rena's scream echoed through the trees, sending frightened birds into the air. I couldn't exhale that deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here I first realized. The person in front of me. She wasn't Rena Ryugu. Then, Who was it that was standing before me now? Who had assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance? I had held my breath for so long, I could feel myself suffocating.
Right?
And then, she made a facial expression that Rena normally might have made. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. I cowered as I imagined that. Then, she smirked as if she was able to see right through me.
We also have secrets. Just like how Keiichi-kun has secrets.
It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine to almost bump into my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to my core. I was terrified knowing that she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long, empty silence, she finally spoke.
Let's go! It's getting chilly.
It was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking, as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me and I slumped onto the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight. Who was that? I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and asked myself once again, who was the person who looked like Rena Ryugu? Ha 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 hoo 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 hoo. I was out of it, and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then, who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. Indigo with the 2 pounds. Fear. Digimaniac with the $5. Keiichi. I'm in danger. Yeah, yep. I forgot how tense that scene was. It actually kind of got me a little bit. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the stairs. Oh, let me adjust my my filter real quick for this.
Keiichi, it's a call from the bookstore.
Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. Ah, and now I need to switch it out again.
My apologies for calling so late. Late at night. It's me, Oishi of the Hinamizawa bookshop.
Oishi-san? Oh, it's Oishi-san.
Sorry. Since your parents picked up, I said I was from the bookstore. Puts people off when I say I'm a police officer.
Jam with Canadian $2. Nightmare. Oishi-san was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the 2nd floor.
Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old number. My apologies. Can you copy down the number I'm about to give you?
Yeah. Okay. He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up.
So, how's it been, my Burra-san? Anything strange happen recently?
I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Are you from around here, Oishi-san?
Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okinomiya.
If he's from around here, he might know. Oishi-san, do you know what this Onikakushi thing is about?
I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. There's a special saying from around here. It has about the same meaning as spirited away like everyone else says.
Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything.
Hinamizawa was, not sure if I should tell you this, Maibara-san.
Don't try to play this off. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything.
No. That's not what I meant. It's just, it may make you feel bad. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as the village where demons reside.
Demons? By demons, you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell?
More like human-eating monsters. They'd go down to the villages, snatching people up and gobbling them down, that kind of tale.
Demons snatching people up is what this Onikakushi really means. They said that the curse and being demoned away happened together. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, but I didn't know that there were people from disappearing from those same for those same 5 years. Jesus Christ. For those same 5 years.
The curse and being demoned away happened together? First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, Maibara-san?
That's what I want to know. I heard Rena and Mion talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-Sama'S curse, then both the curse and demoning away would happen. Oishi-san began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind?
Maibara-san, do you know the first incident? The murder by dismemberment.
Yeah. One of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right?
Hypothetically. What if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away?
Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was the particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. They staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Well, Keiichi. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off. Then, what about the incident the next year? When the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident?
Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in an accident. His wife's body never actually surfaced. Unless we find the body, then it's considered a missing person by law.
At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch off the main stream of the river for dozens of miles, but in the end, they weren't able to find her body. But that's just them not being able to find the body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from her being demoned away?
We cannot say someone's dead without their body. Till a certain number of years pass, by law, she's treated as still alive.
I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the 3rd year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide.
Maibara-san, that's actually the exact same scenario.
The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless swamp deep in the forest around Hinamizawa, meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide note in front of the swamp. A diver was able to recover a few of her articles, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere.
I'm not sure if we could refer to these cases as being demoned away. It's just as you've said. Every year, one person does go missing.
The incident this year. The woman with Tomitake-san's gone missing. Then what about the incident with the housewife beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right?
Yeah, we arrested him. He He was just a miscreant with a record of narcotics abuse. He admitted to the crime while being questioned about a different incident. But, well, you see, after he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. It's still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime.
But you said you caught him, right? Did he have an accomplice?
No idea. It's most likely only the one perpetrator. Moreover, we can't even check now, because while under investigation, that man, he died in his holding cell.
He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. Meaning, for the last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one who goes missing?
That's about right. No, actually, I'm surprised as well. I never even realized they had that in common.
I couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It was just something they had in common. Could it be that those demoned away have something in common? Oishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. Neon Roses with the $5. I fully support Rena. So I summarized the events. The first year was the dam employee. Second year was the wife of the dam project supporter. Third year was the wife of the Shinto priest. Fourth year was the victim's family's child. And the fifth year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. It doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them.
With the exception of the first year, wives and girlfriends. Those do stand out.
It does seem like there are a lot. Then that means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It would really have stood out if they were all married couples, except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitake-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. The child that went missing in the fourth year, who were they?
Apparently he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. His name was Satoshi Hojo-san.
Huh? Satoshi? I remembered that name. Didn't they tell me that Satoshi transferred out last year?
He was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him?
Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then, where I sat, once belonged to the one who was demoned away. It was his seat? I recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. The string of mysterious deaths. No, Oyashiro-Sama'S curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation. It was the feeling of Oyashiro-Sama caressing the back of my neck. Oyashiro-Sama'S curse. Huh? Could Oyashiro-Sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it. And I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reach the point where I'd learned something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser, or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. My execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. Rena. Rena said that she may be the next victim of the curse.
You mean Rena Ryugu-san? She transferred in last year and she's your classmate, isn't she? These incidents might really be too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she?
It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think that she had a concrete reason behind it. It felt like she was convinced, almost as if, you could say, she was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me.
I see. Then I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue your observations of Ryugu-san, Maibara-san.
Are you asking me to keep Rena under surveillance?
That's not what I mean, Maibara-san. I just want you to watch out for your friend so she doesn't end up the next victim.
At that moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver.
Keiichi, get the door, please.
On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? It's so late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight?
Yeah. My apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening.
Keiichi, hurry and open up. Daddy's got his hands full.
What is Dad doing? I had stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with the tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea, a fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side, everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come on now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face, but for my entire life, I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So, what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father, but how could I explain to him that I was talking to a detective, I'm assuming he was, this late at night? Nothing much, just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? Rena-chan. Huh? She wasn't here. Come on now, don't try to hide it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea, but looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? Rena-chan went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the 2nd floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her that your room was the door down the hall up the stairs. Rena came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the 2nd floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the 2nd floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then, about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed, then passed by my dad and returned home. Then, after she came upstairs, and until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time! The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the unsettling and unguarded things I spoke to Oishi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mom yelled at Dad from downstairs, very quietly. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the doorway where Rena might have stood all the time. All that time. Just now, as I was talking to Oishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away. The whole time? All that time, in this dimly lit doorway? What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? Harmonia with the Canadian $5. She's in the... Keiichi, she's in the walls. She's in the goddamn walls. As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Notice from the police chief.
July 1st, 1982. To Departments 1 through 12. XX Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General XXX. To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in the Hinamizawa village, notice. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa village have been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinomiya Station 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village housewife murder, dated June XX. Okinomiya Station 1982, case number X. Hinamizawa Village student disappearance, dated June XX. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station 1979, case number X.
Habaki Gaming with the $5. So rude of K1 not to let Rena in the walls freely. She needs her enrichment activities. I would let her be in the walls of my house. Yeah, and she can eat the insulation.
Hinamizawa Village Site Foreman murder, dated June XX. Shira Station 1980, case number X. Shirakawa Natural Park falling incident, dated June XX. Okinomiya Station 1981, case number X. Hinamizawa Village Shinto priest's wife's disappearance, dated June XX. 3. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, XX Prefecture Police Headquarters. Internal line, XXXX. Police Apartments, Police Affairs Department, XXXX.
What a wonderful, wonderful tip. All right. Well, let's continue. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day.
What's wrong? Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep?
Seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite.
My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school?
Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena.
Rena-chan's come to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off?
Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry.
Then I'll go send her out for you.
Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would be back for dinner, but they might be a bit late. On the note it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. They left the child? I mean, it is like a rural village in the 80s. Like, that was just more of a common thing to do back then. People didn't really think that weirdly about it. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came into view. Irie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
Maibara-san, please make your way to the examination room.
June Pop 45 with the $5. Chat, they didn't have Higurashi back then. They didn't know about the murders. After half-heartedly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it wasn't just for that word.
Must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well?
Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I could feel my ears perking up.
I don't know about that. But you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes.
So her name was Takano-san? That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Oyashiro-Sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-Sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-Sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Indigo with the £2. Her name is Woman. Get it right. Yeah, her full name is Takano Woman. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved.
Maibara-san, good day to you.
It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me.
What's up today? School on break?
Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home.
That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me.
I was just gonna lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold.
I expect you'd rather avoid using one of the local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place.
I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Future Skeleton with the $5. Things suck right now. Hang in there. Can't watch the stream now, but I'm looking forward to watching the VOD later. Hang in there, bud. And thank you. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie.
Sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you?
No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the roads connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitake-san died.
They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitake-san.
Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye.
They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads.
You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that doesn't leave any traces after being consumed?
It exists. Succinylcholine something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitake-san to react like that.
Then, you're saying the police concluded Tomitake-san just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death.
Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people that had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans.
That made me feel a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa, train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday.
2, please. I'll, make do with non-smoking.
This way, please. When you're ready to order, please call me over.
We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth.
So, what do you think? Aren't the waitress's outfits here cute?
Huh?
Well, I guess. The shop's always quite busy. More about the waitresses than the food, you see.
Huh. Oishi-san, you're leering.
Am I really?
Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table.
Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we?
Yeah, that it was a village of man-eating demons or something like that.
I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my mother about it this morning.
Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket.
Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuji, the demon's abyss.
Onigafuji. That's quite the name.
The name's still around. The swamp where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Onigafuji. It's said that the depths of the swamp connect to the realm of demons.
Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous swamp.
And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered.
A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures.
Seems the monsters were Sennin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Villagers with incurable illnesses would be taken to Onigafuji to be healed, for example.
Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or Sennin would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons.
But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my mother told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, is apparently how things went.
The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling.
Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all of the villagers of Onigafuji, the demons, chased, surrounded, and captured them.
The entire village. Apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine.
In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end.
There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be alive and able to tell the tale.
Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this.
In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee.
But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onigafuji band together to capture their prey.
I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped.
They would always hunt down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand.
Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant.
My mother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said.
So, what does this all mean?
It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. Seems that there's that kind of rule.
Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule?
Well, they're man-eating demons after all.
Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then, Oishi-san, I guess it looks like either the entire village or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes?
What do you think, Maibara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please.
That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. He waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking.
Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared.
Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee.
So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maibara-san, I had a bit, really, just a little bit, okay? A background checking done on them.
If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have gotten angry at him for calling my friends into question. But as I was now, I couldn't.
This might sound pretty stupid. Maibara-san, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop.
Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all that I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began.
The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations.
Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up.
In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? Their daughter was with them at the time. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san.
Huh? Satoko? Meaning... Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down.
The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see. Their daughter is Rika Furude-san.
Rika-chan was...
The housewife who died in the fourth year you know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house.
I could tell that my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought that it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from, but clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet.
The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way. He was Satoko-san's older brother.
What? Just Wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard.
All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends.
That has to be just a coincidence!
Maibara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking.
Mion? Satoko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me? All of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena's different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all.
Rena Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims.
He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected?
Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows.
But Rena did that? She broke all of the windows at her school? That same spacey Rena had... I couldn't even imagine it.
Seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. Sorry, it's hard to pronounce that word. She was given weeks of counseling and medication.
I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality.
And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that.
What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret.
She mentioned the word Oyashiro-Sama.
It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa?
Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her.
My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told.
A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. That's right. She's not an outsider.
Huh?
According to their residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. They moved to Ibaraki just as Rena-san entered elementary school.
My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension.
Maibara-san, you alright?
For those of you wondering about the correlation between those things, by the way, if you didn't know, abdominal conditions can actually very frequently cause, issues related to, for example, people with IBS commonly have autism. There is, a link between those things. It's just, a matter of how your body processes certain things in regards to, how your sort of regulatory stuff in your body works. And obviously, if your brain, has sort of trouble processing how your abdominal system should work, then it's also going to have similar problems with processing other things. So there's a lot of crossover between stuff like that.
Maibara-san, you alright? Shall we stop?
Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I know about Rena. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal.
All of them. Have you forgotten, Maibara-san? Didn't you spend all the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves.
Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush.
We should get going. Ah, Mibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine?
I'd completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. No, I'm not saying that they cause autism. I'm just saying that there is a crossover between them because of how, like, your body regulates certain things. Like, I also experience both of those things simultaneously, so. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But that big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san's screams. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car.
I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation.
Why'd you talk to me? I blurted out that question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer.
I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop.
Not that! Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, possibly know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I was part of Mion's circle of friends who looked suspicious to Oishi-san.
I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my mother wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light.
So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings.
This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Mibara-san, you're the one in danger.
Huh? I wanted to reply with, "That's absurd," but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it.
I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So I want to settle things.
In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the next victim.
I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in this string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing.
Pressure from what?
Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine?
After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears.
I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-Sama'S curse this year.
So, you're saying I should contact you if anything happens?
It's fine. Just contact me when you feel like you have to, Mibara-san.
I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it.
Be sure to take it easy. Sorry for throwing all of this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick.
I didn't really give any sort of response.
I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off for now.
The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim than just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-Sama'S curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. I don't want to die. For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the Maibara residence.
Oh, he's alive. Hello. This is Mio. How you doing?
Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on?
Huh? Is this his dad? So sorry.
Idiot! You fell for it!
Huh? Keiichi!
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her, even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me.
I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know? Satoko-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate he's sick.
Looks like everybody was making a big deal out of it.
Well, you know. So, Kei-chan, is now about time to come pay you a visit?
Visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying.
My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some.
Hey now, you'll catch my cold.
Not to worry, both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya! Be there in a bit.
She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. That is, by the way, in case you don't know, that is like a common, that's like some sort of like common joke in Japanese. I forget exactly what it means, but it is a Japanese saying, is you're too stupid to catch a cold. How you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that.
Thank goodness you look well. I was worried.
Sorry. I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. Hmm? You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen.
Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Michan's grandma made.
Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mio.
Yep. Ah, there's one I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one.
This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. But were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
Michan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry.
Both of them thought that my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. Oh, by the way, Kei-chan. Yeah? What did you eat for lunch? That sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject that they'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
So, you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun.
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well,
Was it any good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been at school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems like you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale.
Oh? Keiichi-kun. Who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder?
I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? Seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena.
Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that?
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like I was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. I took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lay down.
That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. All right? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle, even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard, from the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-Sama'S curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down! Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew that I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious, since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives.
That's it. That just has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the changing character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking of that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of anything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way that she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean that she was always silent. They're my friends! But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-Sama'S curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. Neon Roses with the $5. You know how it is with spaghetti. I do, in fact, know how it is with spaghetti. I shouldn't even have asked Tomitake-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watanakashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't... That's right. So that's... Listen, I'll just fill in the word. I know that it looks funny from the way they censor it, but they're censoring it because, because Keiichi doesn't even want to acknowledge it. But I get why it looks funny. Just, Anyway. That's right. So that's why they killed Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Oishi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left be buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oyashiro-Sama'S curse and just die! It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up. But the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, bright as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in the club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. That reminds me, I need to eat those mochi. Hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I'd dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. Our Hibaki gave me the $5. Man, I can't believe they fucked Tomitake. Nobody would do such a thing, of course. Nobody here would find that man attractive. Trust. Damn. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. June Pop 45 with the $2. And Keiichi is all good now. And Psychodoggy with the $5. Damn, Keiichi, you good? That's a bit of a loaded question right now. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, one could tell that it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one's Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said that her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1, so she probably spent quite a bit of time making it. Meaning, the one Rena had made was this one, E. For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea's ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Whew. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different about it was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So, the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seemed my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. Didn't feel like something edible. So I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act, and then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first, I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Haha, yes, there was a hole for where thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean? It looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago. I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside of me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then, it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the walls suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or a reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless swamp. So I'm actually realizing, by the way, based on where I thought I wanted to stop for this stream, that we are going to get to it much quicker than I thought. So today's stream is probably going to end up being pretty short compared to other ones. I'm sorry for that, but it's just so that the last one of this arc can actually be like a properly long one, just like usual. So just giving you the heads up ahead of time. We're not stopping right here, but I'm just letting you know that this one is going to be shorter. So there you go. Anyway, tips time. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? Psycho Doggy with the $2. He seems okay.
Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. It's quite a roundabout response. You mean that there's one that does it indirectly? It's possible to induce a suicidal mental state, is what I mean. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They don't have the willpower to commit suicide. Nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has the opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air.
Indigo with the £5. Everything is so normal right now. It's fine.
Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There's a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see. So, it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time, to keep them from acting on their impulses. And was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as going through withdrawal is completely different. Though going through withdrawal, rather. Tomitake's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroids, known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, there's something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma. Encephalitis? Is that it? A stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined may have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Basically, knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire. Guess this means the assailants didn't have any intent to kill. They smacked him hoping to nick some change and just happened to hit a bad place.
The two plump men laughed hoarsely.
But of course it's not like that. Undoubtedly. Whether it was habitual drug use or something mental, the deceased's background holds the key. How's your investigation going? Oh my goodness, look at the time. Need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes.
Encephalitis? Okay, gotcha. I'm glad to know that now that they'll never be using this word again. Alright. Threat.
Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. That's Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly member and City Councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. While one's up for election, the other one holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the 2nd Investigation Division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election laws.
Oh, wait. It's still Oishi.
You should at least brush up on election laws. I'm not cut out to handle intellectual crime, 'cause I'm dumb.
There was Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. So, they're all influenced by the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the deputy chief and the department chief.
It came to me. That night, when the department chief invited me to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Have you? Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. The counselor stormed in on the police chief in a rage. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't handle being yelled at by them. They're like the Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident's being handled. Goodness me, I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitaka's death. Really? I hope so for your sake. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Whew! That was quite the feast. This month's been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. No, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The department chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with the DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already jelly. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the department chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Best wishes.
Heartwolf with the $2. Kuma guy is a bear. Kuma kinda guy. But nice.
Oishi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your severance pay and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to her birthplace. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Siskino. The chief said, you may have to reconsider issuing your special retirement salary raise. A public servant's severance payment is calculated based on their monthly salary when they retire, so a special promotion of 2 pay grades is given before retirement. This tops up the employee's severance payment. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not exactly a commendable custom. Incidentally, the difference the 2 pay grades makes to the payout's quite significant. I'd expect no less of our egghead chief, quite the model veiled threat. But, well, considering how our pay comes from the public's hard-earned taxes, it's the way of the times, I suppose. Certainly wasn't a laughing matter, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's such a model response, but given how hard you've worked, it's not at all odd for you to take home such a good package. Personally, I'd like you to get it. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. Oh, wait. You'll get it. As long as you're an adult about this. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the department chief's conversation a bit rudely. Looked like he still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually, and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh, man. Wonder if I'll be able to repay that loan.
Boy, oh boy. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet, even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. It was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door.
Whoa! Keiichi! What's the matter?
Sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday, I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest. But it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well.
Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school?
I felt far from well enough. No, I wasn't mentally fit to go. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? It was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this.
Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine?
Yeah, kinda. Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill.
It'll be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get up.
They say wellness is a state of mind. I'd heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Rena-chan comes to get you. Mom's tone meant that I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday, "I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow," came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even really have to think about it. She was saying, "Don't be absent." Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. If I acted differently, someone like Oishi-san, for example, might end up noticing that something is up. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect, it would end up communicating something to those who were undesirable. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? After all that misery I experienced up until yesterday would, almost creepily, just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying, if I just forgot everything and kept on living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi! Your food's going to get cold! Hurry up and get down here! Rena will be here if you don't hurry. I'm coming! I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. I jumped at that sound and dropped my chopsticks. That chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Rena-chan is already here. Hurry, hurry. My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side. Was it the Rena that I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual.
Morning.
An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway.
I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder?
The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death and the terminal illness and suicide, the fatal beatings and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary. Of course. Forget it all. Forget about all of it. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Rena once again asked to make sure.
Can you make it to school?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great! Then let's go. Mi-chan's waiting.
Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief.
But you see, Satoko-chan was so insistent she could do it.
As we were walking, Rena talked about a lot of different stuff. More so than usual. Then?
Satoko-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute.
Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense, so I replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us. "Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Rena-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead."
Uh-oh. Did Mi-chan look mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun.
After greeting our neighbor with a smile, Rena turned back to me and poked her tongue out. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile.
Keiichi-kun smiled.
What? Rena stopped and stared at me.
I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun. But now you seem fine. Fine.
With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile. "Hey, Keiichi Maibara, how can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hoped that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish. There's only one thing that I'd wish for. I would want what happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to never have happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for these past few days. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling."
So, Keiichi-kun. Those mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all?
That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all? Of course, she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, "Did you get the message?" She was probably trying to convey that.
Keiichi-kun?
I was reluctant to give an answer. Rena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maibara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry, and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going, naturally. I had to say something quickly.
Dad?
Rena playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Rena's reaction was still normal. It seems there wasn't as long of a pause as I had thought. Somehow, I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well.
I see. So, did you eat all of them, I wonder?
My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. No, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it.
What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made?
That homework, was it due today?
Yeah, it's due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you.
We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think it was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena. Oh, yeah, the flashback to the... I'm not gonna scream it a second time, but you know.
Lies.
I recalled that unexpected, piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Oishi-san told me, didn't he?
Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through a school building and broke all of the windows.
Rena had a disorder. There it is! That's the line! Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't! Oh my god. It's such a fucking funny line. But no, oh, hi, Minami. But like, no, genuinely, this is such a like, this moment is so interesting to me. And you're gonna see it as it continues. But like, Ryukishi is really hammering in on like how people with sort of like, you know, with mental health issues are treated, especially in like these settings where like these sort of things are not like taken as seriously or like treated with the care that they need. Keiichi learns one thing about Rena like this, and he's like, she's a freak. She's a fucking weirdo. I can't trust her. Now, granted, there's a lot going on, but like, yeah, just the instant jump from like, oh, I learned this thing about her, and now it has completely altered my way of viewing her as a person. It's a lot. Anyway. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two, but she broke all of the windows throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school breaking the windows with a bat. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Walk, wind up. Walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Rena smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as Rena treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room to call for the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight, of Rena busting window after window, undoubtedly, all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Rena to continue. It would be cruel to blame anyone for looking the other way. No, they weren't simply looking the other way. They knew it was the only way that they could protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would undoubtedly have acted according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over, like I was one of those windows. I crouched down to the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent, it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try and stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody, save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out. But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually, there would be a faint sound, similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san had told me.
And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up, and quite a bit at that.
What does?
She mentioned the word Oyashiro-Sama.
Following that, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Rena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama.
It seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over a pillow looking down at her.
That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then what Rena did was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not of some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was Rena? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro-sama's curse. In the aftermath, Rena had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice, accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Rena and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that, but that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience, regardless of whether my opponent were really a human or a curse. I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in, for no good reason at all.
Keiichi-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder.
Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony.
How befitting for the truant, Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena.
June Pop 45 with the $5. She's literally just standing there.
Good morning, Sataka-chan. Rika-chan.
Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently.
What is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem quite back to his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay?
Suddenly, there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Rena, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday. Yeah, morning. What's with that unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you? I'm like this because I ate them. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. So I could argue with the $5. Brain blast. It's interesting that Keiichi is kind of opposite of Battler here, who refused to suspect his family. Very true. Interesting parallels exist between both series a lot. You're going to be seeing a lot of that if you read Umineko first. Huh? What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Rena's?
Keiichi-kun said
I think they meant to put forgot.
Keiichi-kun said he forgot his homework.
Serious. Then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That's why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maebara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Minami, no. They basically just allude to the fact that, that Higurashi was like a story that existed at one point in the universe, yeah. But it is sort of in a separate but similar universe to Umineko. But yeah, we don't need to talk that much about Umineko right now. Let's leave the Umineko talk for... Well, I mean, I would say Umineko streams, but they're done. But you know what I mean. No Umineko spoilers in these streams, please. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. This free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oishi-san multiple times, I could see as I was getting closer to the heart of this matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. It had probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me, they were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was using this seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn. I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never! But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. Even having witnessed all of their suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I wanted to believe. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Rena and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maebara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have just been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far.
both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all just some sort of misunderstanding. Kind of misunderstanding! It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked me about what I had for lunch. Rena was standing outside my door eavesdropping for a solid hour? She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour! Outside your room! And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Oishi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did at her former school? But at the hospital, she said it was Oyashiro-Sama'S fault that she... Cut it out, Keiichi Maibara! Don't you realize they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around to check if anyone else had heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rena and the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who I had been happily laughing together with up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so only I could hear it. There was one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I would probably have happily jumped into that circle.
My, Keiichi-san. How rude of you to even think about leaving.
The way Satoko spoke was so typical and familiar. It almost physically hurt.
Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Oh.
Seeing Rena's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi. Maybe Oishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face.
Keiichi-kun?
Yeah. Was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me that it was just a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say that it was. God. Yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive?
Are you alright? Does your head hurt?
Apparently, that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Rena.
You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder.
No. It's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since Kei-chan was so bent on a revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before too.
Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic.
I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head.
Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate.
It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could. Was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind, took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward. Harden that heart, Keiichi Maibara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them. Because... weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my personality was being ripped in two along with my body. If this is what Oyashiro-Sama'S curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-Sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believe in it now, completely. Your curse does exist, so seriously, give me a break. I beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he had reached a good point to take a break or he was in a slump.
So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have.
Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it?
I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back-scratching, but when it gets in the way of business...
I wasn't able to pick out much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought processes I had going all day long. Friends close to me, no, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. AIXXander, do Keiichi's parents have canon designs? Not in the VN, no. They don't get sprites. They do in the anime kinda has designs for them, but they're like kinda Peanuts parents. You kinda just see them off screen a little bit. The manga has actual designs for both of them. But if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Rena, for example. That neighborly Rena who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she's made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maibara family to have an accident or to just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. Which means that this house would be a safe haven as long as my parents were in. I knew that these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oishi-san. Him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meaning, it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then, when the fish started gathering around, Oishi-san would pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Oishi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oishi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa, so if I phoned him in my moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I just have to hide out there until Oishi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh, yeah. It would probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically, that would call for a switchblade. But that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. I remembered there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always have it around, to carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon might be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing. Insurance. It could be something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanish, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oishi-san should be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from my notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happens, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. Okay, how should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maibara, am in fear for my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Rena and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof. And that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-Sama'S curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was in too obscure of a location, then there was the risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back of it with Scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back to its normal position. Yeah, didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles until I was satisfied, and I made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I'd never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me.
What is it, Keiichi?
I have a favor to ask of you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah? If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think that their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both of my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So please.
What's the matter? Keiichi, did something happen?
Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response for someone's son when someone's son suddenly talked about a subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I would not be killed. Not when I still knew nothing. Oh boy. Alright, so I'm giving you guys the heads up. Like I said earlier, the stream is going to be shorter than usual. After this tip, we are saving and we are going to go to theory time and fan art time. So, just letting you know, this is about our cutoff point. I'm sorry about that, but it's just so that next week can be longer, so you guys can have a bit more to chew on next week. Not feeling so hot.
Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood.
I wonder. Maybe he's on his period.
Me-chan, that's gross. What do you think?
Dunno. Could be the Kei-chan. Maybe.
I don't know.
That day, Kei-chan was in that car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right?
Yeah, no mistake.
That Oishi probably fed him something fishy.
He looked serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale.
You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-Sama.
Huh? What do you mean?
Whenever he shows up, someone's demoned away. No lie.
Oh? Is that so?
Year before last, when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi.
Now that you mention it, he was around before Satoshi-kun transferred out too.
Transferred? You're so sweet, Rena.
So, this time, he's appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun's going to be demoned away too?
An empty silence hung in the air. And then, it was suddenly interrupted. By loud laughter. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And that is where we are going to be leaving off for tonight. But stick around for theories and fan art. While I pull up fan art, you in the chat discuss your theories. Along with our wonderful art contributed by Indigo, Charlie Keiichi. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right. Just a moment. Let's see. Anything new in here? Nope. Okay. Okay. There is new stuff in here. So I'll get that real quick. No, wrong tab. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let's see. Anything new in the Discord? Yes. There we go. Alrighty then. I think I have all of the fan art pulled up. I actually went ahead this week and started pulling up some of it ahead of time, so it didn't take me as long. But, let's get to reading some of your thoughts and theories first, before I get to that. Okay. So, DD Gun. Genuinely, my only theory is that these children need psychological intervention. I don't even think that's much of a theory, so much as it is a fact. Dylan the Turtle. God, it's weirdly hard to decide if Keiichi's friends are actually trying to kill him or if he's just tweaking the fuck out from what Oishi told him. It is, isn't it? He sure is suffering from sleep problems. Regardless, that's true. Indigo. I can't theorize properly because of foreknowledge, but like piecing certain things together, I am losing my entire mind. Let's see. Yeah, by law, I am not allowed to give any theories about this game. That's right, you're not! Anybody who knows spoilers for Higurashi can't contribute theories. Sorry. Dylan the Turtle. Like, on one hand, I feel like Mochi Needles equals, yes, they wanted to murder you, bro, but also the Rena monologue, that Rena monologue was just so, huh? Yeah. Grifter's Bones. First theory, if I try hard enough, I can project into Higurashi and give Keiichi the gun to kill Oishi. Please try harder and go faster. We need this to happen. I sincerely believe Keiichi is suffering psychosis, possibly also displaying symptoms of OCD. Possibly. Autistic Frog. Man, someone get this kid some help and get that cop far, far away from him. Yeah. Yeah. The Ultimate Zora Link. The only thing I have to go on right now is the games they play seem suspicious. Like, they play a game about accusing people before Keiichi starts getting suspicious of people. Seems foreshadowy. Interesting. Okay. Diddy Gun. No clue what's going on with Rena, but something might be up with her emotional regulation. Krillolin. I think at least part of the creepy stuff was a dream. Keiichi even slaps himself and then is like, weird, that didn't hurt at all. Anyway, I think my friends are going to kill me. Okay. Interesting. ERA. Okay. So, 1. Elections. Miona is constantly called an old man. She is very important around Hinamizawa, so what if she rules the place like an old man / boss? Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, because you're talking about the fact that other people with the surname Sonozaki were brought up in regards to their political positions earlier, yes. Interesting. Harmonia. This isn't my current theory, but at some point I thought Takano gave Tomitake a drug because if she works at a clinic, I could have easy access to a strong enough dose of something or a strong drug alone. I mean, possible, I guess, but we don't really know much about the clinic other than, like, give you meds for your cold, so we don't really know if they have anything like that. Gloomy Squids, all I can say is I am legally barred from theorizing, is, man, I love this VN. True. Gona, I don't think the girls are involved in the murders, not just because they would have been like 7 to 11 years old when it started, but it's also because there's no evidence. Did you put... Yeah, I don't think you've followed up yet on your post, so I will wait for you to follow up on your post before I read the rest of that. Neon Rose's theory. Oishi is involved in the killings. He seems like an easily bought man. Okay. Interesting. Theory. Oishi is actually Mion and Rena in a trench coat pulling an elaborate prank on him. Dude, you should have seen the look on your face, bro. We just made all that shit up. We got Tomitake to do it too. And like comes out with like makeup on his neck and he's like, oh dude, you totally fell for it. You're so dumb. Historian Sayori, to lay out a guess since I have no idea about how Higurashi works, that last tip means Onikakushi, I assume you mean Onikakushi, is the way the demons select the victim in that version of affairs. Maybe the girls influence who... or you mean Oishi. Yeah. Is the way the demons select the victim in that version of affairs. Maybe the girls influence who he appears to, but also maybe Keiichi is largely paranoid? Possibly. Okay, Gona followed up. Miona suspected because of her involvement in the protests. Not wanting half of your village to be destroyed doesn't make you a killer. The others are suspected for being related. That's a good point. Yeah, like, he's very much being like, yeah, you know, she's got some suspicious history. She protested the actions of the government. Very bad of her to do. And it's like, well, yeah, dude, you're literally trying to sink her home under, like, a dam, like, a reservoir. Like, of course she's going to be opposed to that. Let's see. Oh, why is he so invested anyway? Good question. Who knows? June Pop. Theory. Oh shit, wait. Mion's family owns the secondhand clothes shop, so the needle probably came from some overlap between fixing clothes and making food. These girls would never hurt Keiichi. You know, you pick up on little details very well. That's actually a very interesting way to speculate about that. I like it. I like the thinking. I like that kind of thinking, chat. We're doing it again. We're making it happen. Theory time is back, baby. Okay, ERA had something before. Okay, yeah, you had the thing about the boss thing, so you followed up on that. 2, Keiichi's parents. Are they real, though? Because they only interact with Keiichi besides Oishi, but since Rena went inside the house, perhaps she answered the phone and used some soft voice. I mean, if Keiichi's parents weren't real, what would that entail? Did he just move there by himself? Let's see. So I think someone is actually targeting people who might affect the status quo and mobilizes the town using the Oyashiro curse. Okay, that's, you know, a pretty logical way to think about it. Definitely. Rosie Gaga, not a theory, but a story time. A long time ago, my friends and I cosplayed Higurashi and walked to an elementary school at night to take pics, pretending to kill each other. But then, while we were there, the floodlights turned off suddenly and was pitch black and we screamed in the realm. That sounds like something I probably would have done at around that age as well, to be completely honest. I think he will ironically end up hurting his friends instead of the other way around. Okay. Circling Spyro, can't theorize, but this reminds me of how great Ryukishi is at psychological thrillers. True! Didi Gun, why does that piece of shit cop think that pinning a bunch of murders on little girls will get him out of debt? Well, he's not in debt. He's just, that whole thing was about him basically, like, getting a bonus at the end of his employment, like when he retires, and they were saying, like, hey, if you keep looking into this, we'll take your bonus away. So he's actually going to be doing just fine. He's not in debt or anything. As for the debt that he was alluding to, that's a different thing. It's not necessarily a monetary debt. Seditious. Theory from personal experience. Keiichi's mental state feels extremely similar to a psychotic break I had around the same age as him, and since I was not murdered, I doubt his friends are killing him. Or trying to kill him, I guess. Very fair. And I would wager to say that Ryukishi is very, very thorough about being able to write things like that, given, you know, his career experience in social, like, as a social worker before this point, before writing this. So you definitely were probably noticing similarities between things like that, because he is intentionally trying to draw those parallels. Let's see. Just a prank, bro. Yeah, I'm not sure if magic is real in this game or not. Okay. I don't think magic exists here. Like most mysteries, the magic/traditions are taken advantage of to hide the true intention of the crime. I will say, not to, like, get into too much. I don't want to get, like, too meta here, basically, because like I said, I don't want to, like, veer too much into talking about Umineko on these streams, because these are the Higurashi streams. If you want Umineko, go watch the Umineko streams. They're already done. But yeah, I've said it before in, like, Discord chats and stuff like that. I'll say it here. Don't think about the mystery of Higurashi the same way you thought about Umineko's. If you are familiar with Umineko, if you were sticking through that whole thing, if you were here for all of that, don't think of these two things as the same. It will definitely trip you up if you try to think about it that way. They are definitely two very different stories in terms of how they approach subjects like that. So, yeah, I would definitely not think about it the same way. Hall's town is into the thing as shown by Mion getting information from them at the cafe. Okay. Fair point. 3, ERA, 3, Mion's twin. Listen, I'm getting crazy here, but what if? I'm only based by the trailer of the game, but that's it. Oh, you mean the opening? Yeah, well, don't worry too much about that right now. Yeah, the whole time protested, so it's weird to single out Mion as suspicious. Gona to the victims, and Rena being mentally ill and destroying some windows doesn't make her a killer either. True, very true. It just means that, you know, she's having a bad time. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's killed anybody or is trying to kill anybody. Donkey Monkey. Even if the needle was intended, I don't think it was malicious. I mean, have you all seen some of the traps Satoko has made? Yeah, I don't know. The boundary between slapstick and serious. You know, you kind of have to investigate that one on your own sometimes. Let's see. Colon, I think that we're supposed to see what drove Rena to smash all those windows, and it's not going to be anything like what Keiichi imagined. Okay. Gonna. Also, I don't think the creepy eyes are real. I think Keiichi's opinion of the girls is influencing how he interprets their expressions. Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. Cherney, the girls seem more like victims than perpetrators. That seems like the extent of their involvement. Okay. I think we have a pretty healthy balance of people here that are kind of speculating whether or not Mion and Ren are actually up to no good, or if they're, you know, or if they're just happen to be victims of circumstance. Real quick, let me open some art that came in last second so I can make sure to have those prepared. Anywho. Okay. Minami, the relating I feel to Keiichi I have not for friends wanting to kill me, but like worrying about someone hating me / about people feeling venom to me that's not there is so palpable. God, like Kei-chan, talk to your parents, baby. Oh my God. No, absolutely. It's really sad. Like you can definitely, like, even though you can tell that Keiichi is very much spiraling right now, it's very sad to like sort of watch the way he is sort of like thinking about these things and how those thoughts spiral into other thoughts and like just generally what point he has gotten himself to. Gona. Plus, during the scene where Mion and Rena confront Keiichi, if you can actually interpret what they're saying as curious and playful, their expression is the main creep factor. That's fair. Because yeah, if you interpret that scene with a sort of hostile, creepy tone, obviously the dialogue is going to come off very threatening. But if you actually like listen to the dialogue just by itself and don't think of it with that in mind, it's like, is anything that they say that particularly threatening, or are they just like fucking with him because they're like, oh, we're friends and we're gonna like rib him or whatever? There's definitely room to interpret it both ways. Cloning Wars. Are the creepy eyes in all versions of the VN? Does this version of the sprite art just emphasize that, or do all versions have them? Yes, all versions of the game have them. Wait, if this isn't the same as Umineko, maybe it wasn't a rhino, but a horse. Maybe a horse is responsible for all of this. Lauren Z, what's everyone's thoughts on what might have happened to Satoshi? Runaway, kidnapped, dead, demoned away? Oh yeah, I would be curious to see what people think about that. Well, I think they're being manipulated. They are just kids, not evil beings, but they are totally involved in something. Okay, so like being strung along by somebody else who is controlling things behind the scenes. Interesting. Seditious, for no particular reason, I say that Keiichi's parents are the real culprits, and they don't have sprites because they'd be covered in blood all the time, and it'd be really obvious. yeah, Keiichi doesn't see the color red. He's just like Godot from Ace Attorney. Jeez. I see that Grifter's Bones put something in here, but I see 2 of 3. I don't see 1 of 3 unless I read it already. Yeah, I don't see it. Sorry if I missed it, but I'll just read this. I had a kinda weirder childhood, cult stuff, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities. I'm not saying there's a cult, I don't think that's what's going on, but a whole town that's small town that's scared of change. Oh, okay, you didn't put in your last message yet. But I definitely see what you're getting at, though, yes. I will wait for your last message. Sorry, no rush. Don't mean to rush you. Red Satellite. That's especially true in the original release since there wasn't voice acting. That is a very good point. I think that should also definitely be considered about the tone of the those lines there. Okay, Grifter's Bones. 3 out of 3. A small town afraid of change has a similar mindset to cult stuff. I'm freaking out about it. No, absolutely. I definitely see where you're coming from. I'll just copy my first 1-3 message. Lol. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Satoshi moved to Kanto to fulfill his dream of becoming a Pokemon master. Yeah. Nice Ash Ketchum joke. Because Ash's name in the Japanese is Satoshi, if you didn't know that. Funny. It's obviously Colonel Sanders that put the needle in the Ohagi. Ah, yes. Sedisha. Satoshi got struck by lightning when his electric rat tried to save him from some birds and is currently in a coma trying to become the very best that no one ever was. Ah, dear. The Satoshi coma theory. We're gonna start it big. Right now, everybody place your bets. Who knows what Keiichi's dad is doing in his workshop? Murder, perhaps? yeah, you know. Sure. Actually, cult works pretty well with my theory. Cult of Oyashiro-Sama. Okay. I only know that because of fanfiction, funnily enough. I should read more Pokemon fanfiction. He paints with the blood of his victims. No, that's so crazy, though. Theory/thought, Ire. Junpop mentioned the clothes store. However, why would you cook mochi close to the clothes, especially when you were sewing? I don't know. Maybe they just don't have a lot of room in the house. Maybe they're hoarders. I don't know. Coma theory is mandatory to bring up at least once. Absolutely. I can't even make theories as a joke because I worry people might take them seriously. Yeah. Same reason you'd buy clothes at the soup store. Grifter Spones, I definitely think nationalism and xenophobia are going to be themes here. Okay. Very, very interesting. I won't comment on whether you are accurate or not, but I think that there are going to be a lot of interesting things in the future of this story for you. I'll say it that way. Feels like we don't know enough about Satoshi to say what happened to him, but considering Mion's reaction to Rena saying he transfers makes me feel like something bad happened. Yeah, you do, like, the whole, like, oh, that's when Satoshi transferred. Oh, transferred? Oh, well, that's so sweet of you to say, Rena. Like, almost like, yeah, that's a very soft way of putting it. Yeah, interesting. Okay. I think, unless anybody wants to raise their hand and say that they've got a last-minute one that they want to throw in, I think we're probably getting close to the end of Theory Corner for this stream. But, anybody have any last-second stuff to throw out? I'll just wait a second to see. Keto, I would prefer not, just because you still, like, know some spoilers for the future, even if it has been, like, a long while. I would prefer nothing to get, like, mixed into the crossfire that hasn't, like, cropped up yet. Last theory that I'm sticking by, swamp creature. Satoko is Satoshi, and she is trans. New theory. Okay. Based. I'm gonna make the swamp creature theory work. I swear to God, it can work. I mean, Grifter's Bones, it could be the cult of the swamp creature. Have you ever considered that? My theory. Cicadas cry. I don't know who told you that. Whoever told you that is probably a dirty liar. I don't think they do that. Whenever everyone who got demoned away just transitioned. Yeah, they just, you know, nobody recognizes them anymore. They're all different people now. Cammy watches, I don't know if it was said, but I'm very worried about what Rena's disorder is due to how the writers could use it. No, don't. I will say ahead of time, don't worry about it. Ryukishi is very, very sympathetic to those sorts of things. Again, he was a social worker before he wrote Higurashi. He knows exactly what kinds of tropes people use for these sorts of things. In fact, I will even say in this very arc, there is actually a segment where he makes fun of people who sensationalize mental illness, like, deliberately. He writes mental illness very, very carefully. I wouldn't worry about it. Evening cicadas, specifically the bite of 87. My theory is the CGI watermill from the anime is evil, connected to Mion, because that's where she waits every morning. Yeah, that is her agent of chaos. unrelated, but how does one access the Discord? I have to scream about Rosa and Ava. The Discord is accessible through Patreon, but even, like, you get it at the lowest tier, like, just subscribing to the Patreon at all will get you in, and you don't have to stay subscribed to the Patreon in order to stay in the Discord. You don't get kicked, even if your membership is canceled or expires. So, there you go. CGI water wheel, my beloved. My graduation was in the massive brood year of cicadas. They dive bombed us all constantly. Maybe they were just trying to get you to read Higurashi. Did you ever consider that? Gonai, I will be honest, the main reason I believe the girls are innocent is because I hate Oishi and I want him to be wrong. A noble cause! Okay. I think we are probably good for theories now. So I'm just gonna... I know I already saved, but I get paranoid about it. I'm gonna go ahead and cap that off there, and now we're gonna get to fan art. So let's do that. Yay! So one moment while I get this up. Turn off our Charlie Keiichi. And yay! So, first of all, we have this from Chiyoko Arts on Twitter. Slowly running out of OCs to draw, here is a sketch of Gallium the 31st's OC, Jinx, the Witch of Prediction and Patterns. Very, very cool. Glad to see we're still getting some Umineko OCs. I actually just remembered I should probably... Sorry, hotkeys. I just remembered that I should probably pull up the tag on Blue Sky just to make sure. Okay, there isn't anything new on Blue Sky other than this one, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything there because I hadn't thought about it before, since a lot of people are probably going to be migrating over there primarily in the coming future. But anyway, yes, very cool. I really like this. The suit jacket and the sunglasses is always a cool look. Very well done. Yeah, I should probably cut myself off. Sorry. It's just funny because of where I put the mute mic hotkey. Yay. You have a Blue Sky now? Yes, I do. It is the same at. It is NezumiVA. Anyway, we have this from Bell at BellC on Twitter. Just a quick fan art I made while watching the first live. I know it's not the best drawing ever, but I hope you all like it. It's very cute. I think you did a very good job conveying this very, like, the posing looks very similar to her original sprite and stuff. It's very fun. Also a funny thing I made, let me tab over to that. And thanks, Marcy, for streaming the VNs because I don't have the time to play them, but I can at least listen to you play. You're very welcome. Brazilian Mion Peak? Yeah, her color scheme does include a lot of the Brazilian colors, doesn't it? Very true, very true. Okay, so next we have this from Tumblr from a-pining-tree. I'm not even an hour into the first Higurashi stream and already have a page of doodles close up for text because I know it's hard to read. Nice comment. Hey, Kei-chan, want to play, Splay the Spire the board game? Free the meeple. Hashtag meeplegate. Very fun, very fun. We have this from the Death bird. Where is it? There it is. I forgot to post this last time, so I'm going to do it now. Feel free to skip the lore for this one if needed. I finally finished the last member of the Cherub Branch. Here is Seb, the one who sails the Sea of Fragments in a ship granted to him. He is the one that takes sinners to the branch to judge. Sometimes, if he's free, Seb takes Pravalong for the muscle, as Seb is pretty passive and uses conflict as a personal, absolute last resort. He does keep a saber and a flintlock pistol on him, but he rarely opts to use them. Sometimes his missions may intersect with Inquisitors, and to be able to get his job done faster, is permitted to assist Inquisitors with their job, whether they want it or not. Very cool. I love that people are still getting their creative juices flowing with their Umineko OCs. This is a really fun design. I like this a lot. Next, we also have this from the Deathbird. So here's me going back to my roots. This is what I call smudge art. I take a picture and use a smudge tool to turn it into abstract art. The source image is a cover art made by Tomohi, which is this. And yes, that is, I believe this is from the Higurashi light novels, like the light novel adaptations. So, swirly abstract Satoko. Very cool. We have this from Dingo's Trash on Tumblr. Felt very inspired by Rena and the Jungle Skog drawing by Gloomy Squid and thought I'd do my own. I also added Rika with her own IKEA friend, Blahash. Very cute. I appreciate all the kind words, and I can't wait to experience more of Higurashi with everyone. NezumiVA's voice acting is, of course, excellent, so I think this will be a great way to experience Higurashi for newcomers. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And this is adorable. I love this. These are really good. You did a fantastic job with these. You made them look so fluffy. Next, we have all of these from Indigo at Torrential Stardust. Due to current events, TM going on while my body was resetting its entire endocrine system, I haven't had the beans to finish off any pieces, but I figured I could still show off sketches of pieces I'm developing at the moment. Only 2 of them are relevant to tonight's stream, but I hope you enjoy all of them. Reference for the last one come from Chiyoko and Atropos' art, and Homestug. So I believe we see a sort of a map pat of sorts going on here. I wonder who that could be. We have this. Very cool. We have this. I wonder who this person is. It seems as if this person may speak in hands, but I couldn't tell you. And then, yes, of course, Atropos, OC, and the PM in the corner. Very good. We love PM around here. Very good stuff as usual. Next, we have this from new-art-blog on Tumblr. My buddy Rena, who is cool and normal and has never done anything wrong. Momentary real talk. I was feeling really down on Tuesday and Wednesday because of current circumstances that I think I don't need to elaborate on. But what sort of snapped me out of despair mode was genuinely thinking about Higurashi. I can't say much because it's definitely spoiler territory, but I was thinking a lot about episode 3 and episode 7. So if you've read Higurashi before, you know what I mean. I absolutely know what you mean. I'm thankful to Higurashi, and I'm thankful to Nezumi for the video Why You Should Watch/Read Higurashi When They Cry. I only ever watched Arc 1 of the anime when I was in middle school/high school, and I don't know if I ever would have returned to read the whole VN if it weren't for that video. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that! I'm glad to hear that it worked on some people. Without Higurashi, I don't know if I would have found a way to be as stable as I am right now. Admittedly, what I'm about to say is a new Mineko quote rather than a Higurashi quote, but regardless, don't wait for a miracle, be one. Very, very true. And it's the 2 alternates. That was very sweet. Thank you for sharing. And very good Rena art. And now we are moving on to the Discord server to look at some art. First, some drawn by Gloomy Squid once again. Oldish drawings of the silly youngins that I'm still proud of, old watermark and all. Satoko and Rika are genuinely such good characters to me. There may be partial bias there as I associate Headless and I with them. He. Hopefully next stream I can post some new art. And so, yes, we have Rika here, and then we have Satoko here as well. Very, very adorable. Did a very good job with these. Even if this is old art, you still did a great job back then. Yeah, very, very good. I really like the sunset as well. It's very pretty. Next, we have this by Elise, aka Golden Slaterer on Twitter, who, as you can see, I'll remind you once again, my new stream layout art of me in the Rena outfit was also drawn by Elise, and we have finished the lineup I was working on last week, and it's everybody. The gang's all here. They're so adorable. Your art style is so good. It's so like squishy and shiny. I just really like it a lot. I also like your proportions a lot. Like your hands and arms are really good. You do a very good job with them. It makes me envious. I'm like, damn, wish I could draw hands that good. But alas, yeah, this is really, really good stuff. Absolutely fantastic work as usual. Next, we have this from Dav, aka Space Caribou on Twitter. I have my tryhard art and a meme redraw. Rika want chicken nuggies, please. But yeah, no, this one's really good. Like, the atmosphere is very good. Really gets across the creeping feeling, and of course, Sanzai. Really, really good. Deathbird, I threw up. Very, very good stuff from everybody as usual. To just go through a last sweep here. All wonderful, wonderful art. Thank you, everybody, so much for submitting it. I've had a great time today. I don't know about you guys. Again, I'm sorry that this is on the shorter side compared to the usual streams, but I wanted the finale stream of the arc to be, you know, more of a typical length stream that you guys could have a late night enjoying and getting scared over. So I figured that if any of the three of Arc 1 were gonna be shorter, then maybe this one was probably for the best. So that way, you know, we could have a bit more of an explosive finale for the arc next time. But anyway, thank you all once again for joining me. I've had a wonderful time, and I hope you guys look forward to next week. Next week, we'll be going back to our regular schedule. We'll be streaming on Friday, not Saturday, because I don't have a concert to be at next week like I did this week. So it'll be Frederica Friday once again. But who knows, you know, maybe I'd be open to chatting about Saturdays sometime as well if people prefer that. I don't know if people prefer that or Fridays, but we'll see. Just leave a comment, tell me what you think, and we'll sort it out. But anywho, as for me, I'm gonna go do stuff. I'll see you all later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Sorry, absurdly overpowered astronaut. I'll get to it next time. I promise. Just let me know again. Remind me.